We are going into building beyond the post, diversifying your income. We got my girl, Yanina Oyarzo. Okay, no lo dije bien. Tú me lo vas a decir otra vez para que yo lo diga bien. We're gonna correct it, okay? No, okay? Toni, Bravo, Mariyah, Gerber, and Kristine, Thompson. Hi, friends. Yo me voy a quedar aquí, que tú me lo vas a decir otra vez.
Yanina Oyarzo.
Hang with me.
They turned off your mic, girl.
You see that? You'll correct it for y'all. Thank you.
Hi guys, how are you? My name is Yanina Oyarzo. I'm a content creator and TV host, and I have a podcast called Similarly Different. It's basically, in short, a human conversation, which is what we're gonna be having here today, but about things that a lot of people don't like to talk about that we need to know to elevate. So I have with me a beautiful panel of girls, and as you can see, they did not stop with the fashion. Now, I'm gonna get straight to it because we got 29 minutes to go, and I don't want the music to come on. So first up, if you don't know, Toni has been known for her blush technique, and she went from behind the scenes to the front of the scene, which a lot of people don't know how to do, and she did it so effortlessly. We have Mariyah, and she talks about all wellness, womanhood, and if you haven't seen her on the Jennifer Hudson show with her husband ice skating, you should definitely check it out. And last but not least, Miss Kristine, who is the LTK star, and she knows how to get her money on that affiliate. So I want to talk to you guys, and I want to know, what was the moment for you guys that clicked and said, I can actually make money from this?
I guess I'll start it off. Hi, everybody. I'm Kristine. I think that diversification kind of came pretty naturally to me. I realized that at some point you can't rely on brands alone, especially with this ever-changing landscape of algorithms and engagement and trends and things like that. But also, number two, that there is actually a vast array of opportunities out there for you to build your brand beyond just social media. So it happened really organically and tapping into, like she was saying, affiliate marketing, event marketing, digital products, capsule collections, clothing brands is really something that can build your audience beyond just posting, but also create multiple touch points of income for yourself.
For me, when I started content, I didn't really know that I wanted to do this as a job. So I feel like as I learned and started having my videos that went viral and things like that, I was like, oh, okay, like there's a brand that's reaching out. And then after a few brands reached out, I got management. And so I kind of learned as I went along in the industry. And then I also realized as things like, okay, people are asking for links, so I should be linking. People are asking, about different things that I'm doing. And then before this, I had a business. And so I always kind of wanted to get back to my business. And so as I have grown my platforms, I have just essentially been taking inventory of like, this is how you basically build your brand out further beyond just, making videos and viral videos. It's really trying to build a strong personal brand.
I agree. I mean, before even diversifying anything, just from the very beginning, I was doing it fully for fun, and it happened very organically. I didn't know anything about makeup before I started working at a makeup brand, so that was very new, and I kind of fell in love with it again. And I think the natural, desire to create made it very easy to stay consistent, which then I think naturally puts you on the radars of pretty much any brand you could think of in a way that I think is really only possible with social media nowadays. You don't really need anybody to push you forward if you have the consistency. And then naturally from there, partnerships and deals and all of the fun little things that happen behind the scenes, but also working behind the scenes was also really great behind the curtain kind of insight before I started doing it full time. It was very nice, but yeah.
I think that a lot of us can agree that exposure doesn't really get us that far like it used to back in the day. So for you guys, what have you done to create ownership for yourself, whether it be starting with your IP or creating a brand and really doing products with a brand rather than just being a post-paid campaign, what steps have you guys have taken to actually diversify and create income that is longer lasting?
I think that one of the things that I always have said and will continue to say is that when you invest in your people and you really try to build a community, there will always be a bag. Like, the bag is in the people. And so I started at a time when, influencing was not a thing. I've been in this content creation game for a decade now, which is kind of crazy to say. So I started at a time when there really wasn't anything but people to depend on. And so I think building organically kind of over time has helped me to really be long-term in this game. And just continuing to invest in your community is really important.
So I basically have been doing a lot of things backwards. I launched a business that wasn't that successful. And then I was like, oh, okay, man, I need to figure this out. So what I have basically done in the last year and everything is I evaluated everything in my brand. Who is managing me? I evaluated what was my goals long term. I evaluated how I want to show up for my audience, how I want to build my community with my audience. And so something that I've really learned, and I'm so grateful that I learned it in this way, is it's okay to pivot your branding so that you can do what you want to do in the future. If you do start something and it's not an immediate success, figure out how you can pivot and how you can still make it successful without being like, okay, be defeated for a minute, but then just make sure you're like, okay, let's focus on the pivot and focus on how you can show up for your community and the things that they're asking for. What links are they asking for? What did they like that you share about? And then use that to build your brand out.
I agree. I feel like I've existed a few different ways online. I started roller skating first, and then I thought that was really fun, but I wasn't talking to the camera, and I think I was missing that. And I don't really see a lot of the niches I've existed in as pivots. I think it's just created a bigger world that I exist in, which I think just feels more like me, because we all have so many different interests and things. So I think the idea of creating your idea of a brand and what that looks like to you will always be your biggest superpower, because that's why companies and other brands want to work with you. I think having a strong sense of what that looks like for you is, I think, what makes it easier to negotiate and also advocate for yourself, is really knowing who you are, not being afraid to pivot and change, and understand that every change you're making, you're getting closer to learning more about yourself and your brand, and you're really just building out a world. Because I think when you're building out a brand, you're building a world, a community. So it's important to remember that it's okay to have different facets of it, and it's going to exist and have different lives. And I think that's what makes it really beautiful.
I love that. Now, I actually have a follow-up question, which the way that you answered it. So you obviously started in corporate with Rare Beauty, and you were able to go to the front of the camera and become so successful from it. What do you think, if you could give 3 tips to a creator that wants to go from getting paid for a post to actually being able to release their own fragrance line like you did and be successful in that and be seen by a brand with the possibility to do that?
Well, definitely having a strong sense of brand is, I think, the biggest and most important thing. And I think remembering and realizing that, as you were speaking to before, your community is always going to be, I think, what's the most paramount. And understanding your community, and also honoring your community at whatever size it is, at whatever size it's at. I think from the very beginning, I still remember like faces and names from when I used to work corporate, and I was only there for 6 months. So it was and before I applied there, I had no job in beauty. I applied on my bed on LinkedIn for fun. And so I think really taking a chance on myself was my biggest, I think, superpower in that moment. And I think we speak a lot to like being delusional, but I don't think I was delusional at all. I knew exactly what I was doing. And I think in terms of skill set, pivoting from kind of this idea of creating this skill set or this mindset of like all these skills you need to figure out, and you need to figure out how to do this and how to do this. I think a huge part of my growth was more about discovery and realizing that I kind of already had all the skills I needed. It was just about learning how to access them. So when you're tapped into brands or you're tapped into your own branding that feels the most authentic to yourself, that is when you discover, I think, your favorite skills that you already have and you've already had. And I think that's probably my favorite part of this job, is just consistently discovering what I've already had in my arsenal that I wasn't aware of before. So I think really getting to know yourself and your brand is number one, paramount, in putting yourself out there. And also realizing we have so many tools at our disposal now in regards to analytics and in regards to like what you can figure out on the back end, that I think is really helpful. I wasn't a numbers or an analytics person at all in the very beginning, and I actually think that was really helpful. But now we have so many tools and algorithms and whatnot to help. So I think understanding your numbers but not being obsessed with them is also really, really important. And then things like this, obviously, I think in-person community and interactions, I think that's what really sticks with you. And sometimes you leave these interactions and you're like, oh my God, was I weird? Was I talking too much? But then you really realize the more you're doing things like this, nobody really, I mean, a lot of people, they'll remember what you say, they remember like the little bits, but ultimately they remember how you made them feel. And I think even just being in that space and showing up as your most authentic self and meeting these people, meeting the faces behind the brands makes all the difference. So it's a combination of all of those things, I think.
I also think a lot of people get scared of being cringe to others. And the reality is you're calling yourself cringe. The moment you're authentic, everybody connects.
I agree. Shame is man-made. I feel like sometimes if you are in a space, you're feeling, I mean, I can look back at my content and say I was like cringe 2 or 3 years ago. I don't see it as cringe. I think that was just a different version of myself. I'll laugh at it. I have YouTube videos from when I was like 12 and I was like, oh my God, girl. But I love
Growth.
and it's beautiful to have that documented. So I just pivot the thought process a little.
I love that. Now, Mariyah, you've been able to build a boutique and monetize from it. How do you stay authentic but know that at the end of the day, this is a business and you need to monetize?
I think with my business, I really try to view it as this is something I'm passionate about, and I'm going to share with you my passions as I'm sharing all my other passions with you. I think that you want to make sure that your audience, you share all parts of yourself. So then that way your audience is like, okay, Mariyah reads this book. Mariyah likes these clothes. Mariyah also has this business. And these are all things that she likes, she enjoys, and just making them feel a part of your life, your journey, and the things that you love. I think that goes a lot further than just trying to make it seem like a singular push to one product. And like I mentioned before with my business, pivoting where I need to pivot, learning where I need to learn, taking that time to really study and learn from other people too.
In a world where we're so overconsumed with content, how do you decide what you're going to showcase to the world with all the different pillars? You know, you go online and there's so many people saying, if you want to be successful, you need to stay to your niche. I know when I started, it was like, you have to pick it. Now everyone's lifestyle. And sometimes that can be very cluttered in trying to identify who the person is. So how do you choose which one you're going to do?
I feel like everybody who creates content, everybody in general, you have something to offer. Like every single person, it does not matter. Like I've had so many conversations with so many different people, and everyone's unique in their own special way, and people need you to be able to showcase who you are. There's something about you that somebody else needs to hear, or something that someone needs to see. So I think sometimes when people get caught up in oversaturation, it's really just because we keep hearing like, oh, things are oversaturated. So I think that sometimes makes people feel like they can't post about so many different areas of their life, but really posting out all the different areas of your life is making you relatable to so many different people. And a lot of times you'll discover that maybe the thing that you thought was like so weird or so strange about yourself was something that so many people are like, man, I am so happy that she said that she likes to do this, because I like to do that too. Or I'm so, I feel so uncomfortable in certain situations. I'm so happy that she shared that she feels uncomfortable in these situations too.
What was the last time that you posted something that you felt really seen?
Ooh. So I actually just posted about my therapy journey recently, and I just started going to therapy, and I grew up in a lot of white spaces. I was a professional figure skater, and I was a competitive figure skater, and so for a long time, I was just around a lot of white people, and so it's taken me a lot to kind of unlearn a lot of things. So I posted about that. And I was so nervous, like I'm even nervous talking about it right now. But a lot of people wrote me and they're like, Mariyah, I get that. And it wasn't a choice. It was just kind of, that was the community that was there. I mean, ice skating is a predominantly white sport. Like there wasn't like I chose to be in those situations. And so sometimes you kind of recreate situations. So I've had to take a step back and be like, okay, I want to be around these type of people. I want to be around this type of community. I need to go to therapy so that therapy can help me set these boundaries that I've been so afraid to set. And I feel like the more I've talked about that, I feel like people have been like, wow, like I have basically walked that same journey and I'm in the same place as you are. And I feel like a lot of people felt very, very seen.
I love that. Thank you for being so honest. Now, you're the LTK queen, Miss Kristine.
I don't know who came up with this name.
I mean, the analytics girl. But when did you start treating your business as a brand and not just something that you were just going to use to post and link and go about your day?
Like I said, everything has been very organic for me, and I think that that is a testament to taking your time. I think especially in today's landscape, you know, it's so well known how much revenue potential there is in content creation, but that sets expectations, and I feel like unrealistic expectations. You know, I've kind of taken this journey very slowly, and things have unraveled for me over time. And I think there's real beauty in that. Like I've built a solid community who really knows me, who has grown with me. I was able to turn what I was doing already and monetize it. So like you were saying, this LTK Queen name that I did not give myself, I promise. It happened organically. I was already linking and I realized that I was driving traffic and sales already. And so my audience was like, we want more links, we want outfit, we want inspirations. And I think when I leaned more into service-based content versus this is my outfit, don't I look cute today type of content, that's when things really unlocked for me. And I was solving real problems for people in their everyday life. So teaching people how to dress better, teaching them about their body shape and proportions and what garments can work best for them, you know, how to hold the girls up for us busty girls out here, because you know it's a struggle, you know, shapewear, all these types of things that people struggle with in their everyday life that I struggle with myself. I would just post about it online, and I think that really made me more relatable. People started trusting me, and it really made this like apex of this beautiful moment where I was helping people in their everyday life, but also being able to make a real bag from it. So it's just like this harmonious atmosphere that you can kind of create over time, but it does take time. So I think that longevity in this thing and really pacing yourself can really be beautiful and not rushing to get there overnight.
I obviously know you love LTK, but I would love to hear from you as well as the other girls. What other platforms do you guys really feel really changed the game for you?
TikTok was a big game changer for me. I think it was mostly for everybody because everything was so photo based, and all of a sudden it was like, girl, you can come on camera in your bonnet. What? You know, like you don't have to have any makeup on. You know, Instagram was so polished. We were taking like editorial style photos every weekend. My husband can attest, he's over there. We were going out like every weekend to shoot like these editorial photos because that's what we thought we needed to do and what I saw in magazines. But TikTok really gave a human element to things and really a more conversational, down-to-earth thing. And I think it really changed the social landscape in general because lifestyle content really didn't exist before TikTok in the way that it does now. So I think that that is one that really made me change the way that I showed up.
I feel like TikTok, for sure. I feel like a lot of people, being able to just really show up how you show up has been really great. But for me too, YouTube Shorts, I feel like a lot of people I've met that like don't repurpose to YouTube. We had a video, I believe at this point it has 2 billion views. Like literally gained us almost 4 million followers on that platform from one video. So I always tell people post on YouTube Shorts, and then also Snapchat is another. I've gone to Snapchat headquarters. They have like their own, it's very like fun, organic content, and that's just another platform. And I know sometimes it seems very overwhelming because there's so many platforms, but if you can find ways to repurpose and make the content a little bit different, it opens you up to even more people.
For me, I love TikTok, I love short form, but I think YouTube and Substack have been my favorite. I think the slowness and mindfulness that I have to practice when I'm sitting and I'm editing every single one of my YouTube videos or I'm writing an article is kind of like a creative mindfulness exercise for me that's very different than the way I create and I work for short form content, which I think is just as fun, just in a different way. But I think YouTube and Substack for me have been a lot slower, and the communities I've built on there feel a little more like, I think on short form, it feels like every single time you're putting out content, there's obviously that community that exists there, but it's almost like an audition to the algorithm, whereas I think sometimes longer form content, YouTube, Substack, that community will be there regardless, and there's less of like a consistent, I'm interesting to the algorithm. On longer form, it's a lot harder to gain traction, but once it's there and you have that community, I do find that it's a lot more constant and grounding for me, I think. But I love both sides of it for different reasons. I love short form for what it is. I love long form for what it is. But I think in the past year, YouTube and Substack for me have just felt a little slower in all the ways I think I need in a very fast-paced short form world, I think.
Do you also feel that way when it comes to the income you've gotten from those exact platforms?
Yeah, so I mean, I think everything's slower with those platforms, but the income and the back end of it, I think also feel consistently slow, but also in the amounts and the ways that I think payment comes through YouTube or something like Substack. If you've ever been on Substack, it's monthly in a lot of different, in a lot of the ways that you, I guess, could get paid for short form. I mean, that net 30, that net 90 is crazy. But on these other platforms, it feels like when you build it up, the numbers, I think, for longer form over time translate even bigger than on short form because those communities are very ride or die on long form. I mean, we all know like the 2016 YouTube of it all, like we were hooked, and I'm hoping for another renaissance of longer form again. I think forcing myself to sit down and like I've been a lot more mindful about the short form I consume as I'm creating it. It's nice to have a YouTube playing and then I watch the video and then I'm done and I go outside or I create versus kind of consistently getting that like adrenaline through my For You page, I think is a healthy balance. So creating has been a really great exercise to slow down and not rush to get to the point. So it's been nice.
What's one tip you guys would give to everybody out here that has helped elevate your content to bring in income?
I think relatability, there is such a power in that and speaking to your audience in the way that you will want to be spoken to. And I think being authentic online, you know, you can tell when someone is faking the funk, for lack of a better phrase. You can tell immediately. So I'm like, you're better off just showing up as yourself, and your people will find you. I promise. Like, you have to show up consistently. You have to give them something that they can actually take with them and give them some value. That's really where I've seen the majority of my success, is not just making my content and my platform solely about me, and thinking about it in terms of who is viewing this and not trying to gain a new follower, trying to keep my last follower. So I think that kind of mind shift really changed the game for me, and it helped me to really have some long-term success in this thing.
I think anybody who wants to create content, like, you are unique, you have something to offer. I really do feel like a lot of people feel like it's oversaturated, there's too many, and I really do think it does not matter what other people are doing. Really focus on yourself, and like she was saying, remain authentic, stay true to yourself. It's okay to pivot, it's okay to change your mind, it's okay to decide that you want to do something else. And I do think something I really wish I would have done when I started was really look long term. Like, what are some of the things that you want to see yourself doing in 10, 15 years? If it's not making like a funny comedy video, maybe you start incorporating some things that would push you the needle forward in that direction to where you're trying to be, so that you can, like you said, not only keep followers, but have the quality followers that are going to want to be with you and ride with you as you continue to grow your platforms.
Yeah, I mean, definitely I agree with all of the points. I feel like for me as a consumer, I pay attention as much as I'm a creator. I pay attention to the way I consume content. And I think for me, a really cool challenge in the beginning when I was creating content, I create beauty content, so there's always something new to work with. But I think challenging myself, first of all, not consuming, creating more than I'm consuming was my first challenge, which was helpful, but then also drawing inspiration outside of TikTok, outside of Instagram, watch a movie. You'd be surprised at how many ideas I've gotten from just like, I got my degree in film and media, so I do like a little Criterion Channel moment. I get so many ideas from just watching an old movie or a TV show than I get from scrolling for hours and hours. I think hopping on a trend is really great, but if you're looking to create a brand for yourself, allowing and trusting your own creative ideas and really seeing where that goes and creating ideas that exist outside of a TikTok or something you've seen on Instagram will instantly set you apart, I think, in ways that I think really open things up for me. So I think seeking creative inspiration outside of where you're used to is, I think, a really great way to break the mold that you're in already, and just having fun with it. I think it's been a really fun year too, seeing people experiment with different like series and cameras, and like really seeing people elevate their content has been really, really fun. But yeah, I think challenging yourself to find inspiration outside of your phone is, I think, a really great way to stand out, because you can tell when someone's like, oh, you've been doing your research, you like go outside, like, wow. And I noticed that as a consumer, so that's something I've been implementing quite a bit, but yeah, just having fun with it at the end of the day.
And then the last question I have is, while we can talk about all of your guys' success, I personally love to know what mistake you made so that they don't make it. And I would love to know what mistake in the beginning or during the middle of your career of getting income as a creator would you go back to yourself and be like, ugh, I learned from it, but I should have done it a little bit different?
That's a good question. I would say my number one mistake is not talking to other creators sooner. I discovered so much more by just asking the question, hey, what'd they pay you? And you would be surprised how many people are actually apt to answer that question. They may not say the exact number, they may give you a range, but they'll give you some nugget. And the more nuggets you get from different people, then you can kind of piece it together and figure it out for yourself. And I think, especially in the beginning, it was such like a, no one knows what anybody's making. No one knows how this is working. These brands are kind of taking advantage of the fact that we're not talking to each other and realizing that, oh, you should have got paid the same as me, or I should have got paid the same as you, but you asked for higher and I didn't ask for the same rate. Those conversations need to be had behind the scenes, because otherwise they're going to take what they can get. I will say that. So I think that's one mistake that I am like really keen to. And anytime someone asks me now or wants advice, like, I'm an open book. I may not tell you all of my financials, but I will tell you a good amount of information so that you can take it yourself and figure out where you fit in this landscape. So I think that's really important, to talk to one another.
I 100% agree. I feel like the more creators you meet, and if you don't know any creators, because that's another thing, you're like, how do I get in the rooms with these people that are doing the things that I want to do? Something that I feel like has really helped, or I think I heard in a podcast this week, and I was like, this is such great advice, is working side to side as opposed to trying to reach like somebody who's much higher than you. And I was like, wow, that's such a great advice, because yeah, like the last panel, she was talking about other Black women opening doors for other Black women. Like, you'd be surprised, like, oh, I worked with that brand, I really want to work with that brand. Well, they emailed me, so I have a contact. So like, here you go. So sometimes you will find people like that. But my best advice would be link earlier. If you want to link, start early. And then also find good management. Because I feel like so many people get trapped in management where they're not happy and they don't know what to do. Make sure they're bringing you outbound. They're not just negotiating your inbound. And if you don't know, ask.
I agree. I think don't rush the moment. You don't need management right away. I think there's so much you can learn from the back end when it's just you, and there will come a point where it won't be just you and you can't ever go back to that. So I think really enjoying having that full back end knowledge and taking advantage of that is really helpful. And then when it gets to a certain point as well, hire a financial advisor. I think that's really important because this is a job where everything feels like it's all over the place, but there are ways and there are people that can really help you stay sustained in this space, because I think we're all needed in this space, and I think that's a really important element that keeps us all here. So, yeah.
We're all needed and we all deserve to get paid right.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.